It's April 5th, 2022. Now, I'm not placing judgment. I'm not making judgment. I'm not making a stand one way or the other. Just notating from my own file based on the fact that at one time or another, as the investigating journalist, the one brave gentleman on See the BS this morning, goes around and surveys or polls the public because he has some journalistic whichever about this. See, there's different code words for it. There's marijuana, which is a longer, almost it feels like judicial word. Then there's, of all the combined and affected, then there's this new word they use, cannabis. Again, I wrote something this morning about The Walking Dead, but from like a medical perspective in the deterioration, also Weekend at Bernie's, with like this flaccid social grace and whatever trying to be held up. It's like if Tony DeCopel's on one side is a brave soul and I'm on the other end and we got Uncle Bernie in the center, we're trying to like prop up for our own kids. It's kind of what it feels like when I watch him on the television. But then there's also these symbols that come up. It's changed from CBS this morning. Obviously, it's WCBS TV New York. It has a bunch of different outlets and associations. This particular one reads, Esto es CBS Nueva, or it's not Nuevo, it's Nueva York. I don't know who that's associated with. I mean, it's got NU, so it looks nuclear to me. Again, if you take the N out and you put an R, it becomes Rue, R-U-E, in les États-Unis. Mais je ne sais pas, because this does not feel very French. Although the children involved in the changing of the guard thing is whatever. So I'm gonna put this on, but again, the way that I grew up, if there was no push into the school district or the neighborhood with access to these issues, it would have been a non-issue. Wouldn't have even been on an agenda, wouldn't have even been spoken about, wouldn't be anything. There'd be more time in the correction and defending of what needs to be done. But being that Weekend at Bernie is still a real whatever in some, and then you have The Walking Dead with deadheads and dead airspace with my own parental machines are not interacting. They're like, if they're machines, they're offline in a sense of like, I can't even get straight answers out of them. But like, I couldn't even rely on them necessarily when I was little either. And is it an intrinsic issue? Is it an extrinsic issue? There's definitely an extrinsic programming issue for certain. There's challenges of all sorts, breakdown of the seeking out of master, intelligent, relatable people that might not be like totally like, you might not understand them, but at least you have, well, I mean, you might not agree with them, but at least you understand them. There's, like, no access to that, even. So here we are, and this is his report on what the things that I'm unable to do and he's able to do in the field, because he somehow had access to a lifestyle that was withheld from my person being able to reach it for one reason or another.
Hey, we're back, and if you recognize that song, there's a pretty good chance you already know there's a new push to legalize marijuana nationwide at the federal level. The House passed the bill, now sitting with the Senate. But whether it passes or not, official acceptance of the drug seems to be on the rise, with companies like Amazon ending testing for many job seekers, and the major sports leagues easing restrictions too.
Now, if we're analyzing, since I can't ask a master intelligent, are we over capacity? But I'm looking at what they've done in these major league, in the hiring of the sports arena and their college associations, and now what's the next round of college entry into professional sports leagues of the majors that are like that they report on in New York. The ratios are completely flipped. They flipped the script. It's like they're trying to erase Mount Rushmore kids completely. I am one of the earliest affected, my mom and myself. I mean, I haven't been able to access a lot of things that had this mass migration been allowed. I'd be in a completely different place right now.
Major League Baseball no longer bans marijuana. The NBA has relaxed its testing requirements. And the NFL is actually funding research on the drug's health benefits. However, cannabis still carries the unmistakable whiff of stigma for those who personally use it. More than 50 years after the war on drugs began, here's what that stigma looks like today and what it may take to change it.
3, 2, 1,
in almost every state in America, the old laws against marijuana have been rewritten.
Look at who is benefiting from all of the interior of New York has been, like, in my life frame, I noticeably, and in Lynn's life frame, noticeably can see a deconstruction effort going on by, I don't know, some unbeknownst source. Their airspace around their heads and their outside physicality environment is changing. I don't know anybody who's been able to explain it effectively to me. I mean, opportunity has been oppressed and occluded. I mean, complete, like, if there was like a lumen of opportunity and labor and like being able to function and have a nice house, a nice job, a nice family, in just a small life at one point, which is what half, it looks like, of the baby boomers were able to have. By my generation, it's been completely occluded and cut off. But I see a lot of this surviving and thriving with all sorts of new methods and mentalities and, like, gaming. It looks like a gambling problem and an eyesore everywhere I look.
But when it comes to talking about it, one question.
What's the question, brother?
How often do you consume cannabis? We found that new laws or not.
So my point is, the guy that has a pallor and a peaked that can raise his eyebrow, whether there was smoke inhalation or not, get over it. You're down in your ratios and numbers, and you need all the help you can get.
People seem to be following an old playbook.
Just say no to drugs.
Wait, this is your official
That's
position.
my official position.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, I'm mum about
You
it.
can't say it.
Yeah.
You seem a little bit uncomfortable admitting it.
Nobody wants to talk about it because it's like they already know as soon as you answer it, the people that are already like breaking the system apart from every angle, like they got hammered. It's the Walking Dead on the outside of the fence trying to get into the peaked facility on the inside, and there's only like so many who are up and standing, and like they're just trying to come in and rip you limb from limb and turn you into what they've become. I mean, the theoretical and the actuality and the pantomime work so well in explaining this one for Pallor and Peaked of Mount Rushmore and our responsibility to each other and job to do. And then the disappearance of that tribe in asking the most ridiculous questions to trip one another up to disqualify them when your numbers are already down.
I suppose.
Dancing around there.
You're dancing around.
Yeah.
And when people do open up, as some did,
I definitely got high a lot over COVID.
it turns out that laws can change in an instant. But worries about being stereotyped as a cannabis user are a lot harder to shake.
I mean, I'd probably feel weird if my mom saw this.
This is your brain on drugs.
If you were a kid in the 80s and 90s, as I was, you grew up on a steady diet of anti-drug programs and public service announcements.
If you use pot, you're not using your brain.
Pot was also a primary target of the drug war, something else I experienced.
Oh my God, they're on the third floor. They're on the Briar.
Come and help bring the groceries up, please.
1 second.
It's firsthand when one of President Reagan's drug task forces busted my own father for dealing what was and still is a banned substance under federal law. A lot has changed with some form of legalization in 47 states, but so much has not. No one in Congress openly uses cannabis, and it can be problematic when a Fortune 500 CEO lights up.
I mean, it's legal, right? It's totally legal.
Okay. After Elon Musk appeared to smoke a joint on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Tesla's stock value plummeted. But as legalization spreads,
But yet he's still a billionaire and he was still able to maintain his lifestyle. While others of us have been completely like oppressed out of even being able to physically have any enjoyment whatsoever.
growing list of celebrities and athletes have put a different face on the industry. Even former Republican House Speaker John Boehner has changed his stance on marijuana, as he told John Dickerson last year on CBS Sunday Morning.
I drink red wine. If somebody wants to smoke a joint or eat a gummy, that's really none of my business.
And now, a politician from Louisiana is going one step further.
Most of the people police are arresting aren't dealers, but rather people with small amounts of pot, just like me.
Gary Chambers is running for U.S. Senate, and in a first-of-its-kind campaign video, he decided to light up to make a point.
People just want to be within whatever the norm is in society.
U.S. Senate where? Is there like another U.S. that I'm completely unaware of? I only know of the U.S. being 48 puzzle pieces in the Americas where I am.
And we haven't figured out how to normalize this just yet.
Some 7 million people have watched the clip, who, as Chambers sees them, are 7 million potential converts to a new image of cannabis. What do you think the image of the cannabis consumer should be?
A United States Senator.
He's already convinced his parents.
At first, my dad was like, "Boy, you smoking that dope?" And I had to say, Dad, it's not the same as dope. But we got to have a real conversation about it. And if my 75-year-old mom and 79-year-old father can evolve on the conversation, then I'm not really concerned what anybody else thinks about it.
And so, as we change our laws to bring cannabis out of the courts,
I just feel like it's something that we should have always had. So it should have always been legal.
it's still going to take some time and a change in our culture to bring it out of the closet.
How often do you use marijuana?
Honestly, every day.
It took you a second before you said yes. Were you thinking about saying no?
I was. But then I was like, you know what? No, why not? It's 2022, different times now.
Okay, actually, wait, hold on. I know what you're trying to corner me on, right?
I have some questions.
But I just want to say that gentleman at the end there who says he uses cannabis every day. You know, a lot of people have a glass of wine every night for dinner, and we're very accepting of that in our society. We're not yet accepting of people using cannabis that regularly. People feel that stigma. That's what it is.
Even though it's legal.
Even though it's legal. Widely legal.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, have you ever partook in this?
Right, yeah, so, okay, right. So I did the story, and I've been asking other people, so it's fair to ask me. And I gotta say, I feel the stigma too.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You're saying yabba dabba do right now.
I'm saying yabba, a lot of people say yabba dabba do because, you know, we got a big wide audience all over the country, and there's still a judgment around this drug. So I know Oprah's trying to get you to.
So yabba dabba do means you have been Flintstone before.
I have not been Flintstone before.
No, but all jokes aside, there is a stigma.
There is
I
a
don't
stigma.
understand why people won't admit it if it is legal.
Because there's a difference between legalization, getting it out of the courts, and then acceptance, getting it out of the closet. And then there's going to be like a separate movement in the years to come on that.
Well, wait a second. We have a no and a yes.
I have before.
Oh.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
from Seattle. I'm from Seattle.
Okay.
I'm from Seattle.
That's 2 years.
But I didn't do it when I played because I was too scared.
But here's the difference. A lot of people talk about before. Not many people say, I live a productive life and I do it regularly, like that guy at the end.
Majority of my friends do on a daily basis. It's just not my thing. I'd rather take a glass of wine.
All right.
Yeah. Very good.
I recommend Martinelli's apple juice or Starbucks white hot chocolate. You're welcome, America. Coming up.
Phil, I got some brownies for you.
Coming up, climate scientists say we are running out of time, people. The key findings in a new report that warns we have to change our fossil fuel reliance right now. And a reminder, I like to think of it as an invitation.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxies, Broken, and its Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.